1. The skates were her very favorite things, besides her eyes, which were blue, which only her father had, but were less blue. Her mother and her younger sister had brown eyes, and the eldest hazel. Sometimes, when she'd play with them, she would open her eyes just a little larger, so they could see exactly how blue they were, to rub it in. The skates were white, but she had added blue to them, stars mainly with marker, and blue laces, but they were really more green, still closer to blue than brown was. The roller skates were her fave cause she could ride up and down the driveway all day, even in the street if no one was watching. It was like flying, really, like thinking you wanted to fly, and then the wheels made it happen. She even dreamed of it. Wherever she was, at school, in a nightmare, or in church without clothes, she was roller skating. Monsters could never keep up. She just skated out of the double church doors to everyone's wide eyes and rolled safely into the sun. Her sisters didn't like skates. The younger one was not good at it. She stamped her feet like a Japanese movie monster and never learned to roll. She tried to teach her, holding her hands, but she just sort of danced in place, like she was trying to escape quicksand. The skates were too heavy for her legs to pick up, but she didn't mind wearing them, sitting down in the grass in them, trying to figure out how to lace them, then unlace them, like boots with wheels. The older one kept falling and getting bloody knees. She said boys didn't like girls with scars on their legs. She felt you had to do everything you could to keep your body pure for your future boyfriend. Every scar is like a discount, she said. It makes you less valuable. Scars on your arms, legs, or worse, your face, and your value decreased. Lose an eye or finger, and you're permanently on sale. 2. Saturday was flea market day. Her mother never came. She wasn't interested in old things, and it was her decompression day. Sometimes they'd hit yard sales as well. You could get better deals at yard sales, but it was more junkish too. You'd rarely find anything collectible, just stuff they'd outgrown and were trying to offload on other people. Sometimes they were fun, and sometimes they were sad if the people selling looked like they needed the money. Flea markets were better, but more expensive. The seller knew what they had, and all the items had been vetted. They knew the items would have value to people, if only that right people walked by. It might take months, even years, but eventually the right one came, and a sale was made. Trash to treasure. Also at the yard, salespeople just dumped their things in boxes, or on borrowed card tables, or planks of wood set on top of sawhorses. But at the flea market they made artful displays. She liked that. Vintage mannequin heads wearing plaid hats, big purple sunglasses, and a bow tie. Or a silver platter filled with old men's curved pipes. The little display boxes filled with vintage glass beads. 3. Her father liked it less because he was here for a bargain. He didn't care about the object as much as he did about the sale price. He'd buy an old pair of military boots if they were 70% off, regardless of their size. He had a list that he brought along each week. Neither of them needed it. They'd memorized it long ago. Her father searched for vintage fishing lures, tin signs from gasoline stations, old tools, oil cans, wooden bowling pins, anything military, pocket knives, brass bells from ships, thermoses with plaid design, vintage cigar boxes, slide rules, shoe horns, antique keys, beer steins, if they were authentic, ammo cans, vintage bottle openers, and 1970s camping gear. But the top 3 prizes they both were always on the lookout for were La Lucha wrestling masks, 1940s baseball gloves, and campaign buttons with Kennedy. She understood his desire for some of the things and not the others. Mostly they were funny, like he was. Her list had real value, though. Treasures, bunny figurines, vintage photographs, anything unicorn cause. Of course. How could you not love a horse with a horn? Vintage hair clips to give to her mother. Sunglasses, colored mason jars, pin badges with animals, travel magnets with places she'd never heard of, wooden buttons, Japanese erasers shaped like food, rainbow slap bracelets, enamel pins shaped like planets, and costume rings, the type that turn your finger green, for her little sister. The things she loved most to find were the bunnies, unicorns, and the photos. She had 3 albums now of old photographs. She rated them like boys used to rate baseball cards. The weirder ones were more valuable, which worked out well, as those were usually cheaper. One album was people. The second only photographs with animals, which were surprisingly difficult to find if you discounted horses. And the third was her prize album, the one she only put her very strangest pictures in, then labeled them with a silver gel pen, in cursive. So far she had 5. The headless anniversary, a faded black and white photo of a couple in formal wear, posed stiffly beside a cake that said 25 years. But their heads are blurred, either by motion or a problem when they were developed. The lady's hand rests perfectly on the man's chest. They seem deeply in love, even without faces. The girl in the horse mask, a 1970s Polaroid showing a child in a frilly white party dress, standing dead center of a sunny backyard. But she is wearing a full horse mask. Behind her, kids sit on picnic blankets, eating cake, seemingly unbothered. The date scribbled in blue pen, April 3rd, 1974, Kathy's 8th. The parade nobody attended. A panoramic photo of a marching band on a small town main street. Flags waving, tubas mid-note, cheerleaders smiling. But not a single spectator is visible. Just empty sidewalks, closed shops, and a slight blur in the corner, like something was caught moving too fast. The Little Boy and the Bear, black and white, early 1900s. A boy of maybe 6 stands stiff as a plank, holding a toy rifle. Next to him sits a tethered bear cub, wearing a small party hat. They are in front of a painted backdrop of a forest. The boy's boots are muddy. The bear looks directly into the lens. And last, the family in the mirror. A sepia photo of a living room. Floral wallpaper, sagging couch, crocheted doilies. The focus seems accidental. It is a mirror hanging on the far wall. In it, a family is reflected. 2 parents and 3 children, posing for a different photo. But in the actual photo, the room is empty. 4. Today they hit 2 yard sales on the way to the weekend market. He'd picked up 2 Matchbox cars and an old metal tackle box with compartments. She'd only bought an ear of corn from a big pot the lady was selling. There was butter, salt, and even cayenne pepper to sprinkle on top. The flea market was sprawling. They never hit all of it on just a Saturday. He'd let her pick a direction, and they would start there. Though he had plenty of friends he'd have to say hello to. So they ended up taking almost the same route each time, just with different starting points. They each brought their own cloth shopping bag. He'd give her $20 in small bills, and they'd each shop. The first rule was no junk. The second was that if either saw something on the other's top 3 list, they'd come tell them. They'd never just yell out 'cause the seller would figure they wanted it and raise the price. Sometimes she just brushed her hair with her fingers and raised her eyebrows. Sometimes he'd point with his lip and she'd know. When they got hungry, usually the halfway point, they'd stop and eat from the van vendors. Her fave was a Thai van that served pad Thai with limes and peanuts, and a Vietnamese one that sold fried spring rolls with mint and shrimp. Her father liked the barbecue and sometimes plain hot dogs, discarding even the buns. Today they sat and ate quietly. They'd both found nothing. Some days were like that. You either had it, didn't want it, or couldn't find it. Sometimes it all looked more like junk, and other days it all appeared to be treasure. They finished their food, put their paper plates in the oil drum trash cans, and went back to separately hunting, but keeping within eyesight. 5. That's when she found it. 3 tables laid out with treasure. The old Mexican lady was pinning up handmade signs saying sale and last day. She actually had 3 glass unicorns, some baseball gloves that looked old, wrestling masks, pocket knives, and various Day of the Dead art, some old birthday cards, and a few boxes of old photographs. Mexican stuff was harder to find here. She, not terribly discreetly, ran over and grabbed her father's hand and dragged him back. She knew the rules, but excitement sometimes wins out, especially after a long, dull day. Her father held the things one by one. She knew he was interested because he started chatting to the woman. She was from Mexico, and she had been traveling around to flea markets, but today was her last day, she said, and she was headed back to Mexico after being away for a long time. The girl picked up all of the unicorns and put them in a yellow basket, skipped the birthday cards, she didn't like those, and started carefully picking through the vintage photos. She'd already found some good ones: 2 raccoons playing, a girl half in a hoop skirt, a sad man sitting on a bridge in a European city. Her father's basket had a lot of stuff too. She knew he'd play good music on the way home and sing. He got 2 gloves, not for their rarity, but for their patina. 5 masks that he thought may have really been worn in a Mexican ring, and a set of antique barber's scissors. He asked about an old camera, the kind you look down through and see sideways. When he asked her if it still worked, she showed him, said there was still film in it, though he doubted it. She promised if he bought it, he would see she was right. He passed on it, thinking there is no way it still worked, and film for cameras now had gotten expensive. She, though, had more trouble trying to decide which pictures to take. She made 3 piles: totally, maybe, and nope. Her father paid for his stuff, then wasted time at nearby tables. When he came back, she was still looking. She could tell he was getting antsy. When she pulled out her money, the old woman saw the small bundle of ones and a few 5s. She offered the whole box of photos for $20. Her father asked if she was sure. The photos sold for $1 each and $2 for the good ones. There must have been 50 photos in the box. She replied that it was less for her to carry home, and additionally, she'd throw in the unicorns for free. They walked away happy. There was singing, wind through the car window, and at home her father quickly stashed half his loot in the garage where her mother wouldn't see. 6. After dinner, she remained at the kitchen table with her 3 albums and the box of photos. She laid them out in stacks again, deciding which ones went in which album, and now for the first time, which ones she'd archive. Always before she only picked and paid for ones she already knew she wanted. Now she had extras, ones she might not use, but could keep for later. She stared at the raccoons, and the man on the bridge who she now noticed wasn't wearing shoes, and kept digging, until another caught her eye. She picked it up. It was portrait style, faded and dark, but you could still see the subjects. It was a long ago place, a girl and man standing next to each other. The girl was wearing two oversized baseball mitts, and the man was wearing a La Lucha mask. They were just standing there, smiling at the camera. To the side hung a banner that said "Last Day," and above them, high in the sky, was a ball of light that appeared to be rushing towards Earth. A sun falling, a comet. Her blood turned to ice, and her breath left the building. Her eyes went black, and she hit the floor. 7. She woke with her parents over her. She was laying on the couch. Her father was trying to give her water. Her mother was shoving a thermometer in her mouth. They were worried. What happened? How did she feel? Was she going to be sick? Did she hit her head? Her sisters came down too. The little one balling up her fist and trying to eat it. The older one eyeing her cautiously, like she'd done this for attention. She was fine, she said, her body still full of goosebumps. Her father said maybe it was the heat today, and Mother admonished him for always dragging her with him. She sat up. They turned on the TV. After a while, when the drama was over, they drifted away, back into their own lives. She got up, carefully walked to the table, and picked up the photo that had landed on the floor. She stared at it until the emulsion was touching the tip of her nose. There was no doubt. She didn't watch TV, just sat there eyeballing the photo from different angles. Turned her head one way and the photo another, held it upside down. It never changed. It didn't seem to have any magic. Cameras just capture what they see. She went to the garage and pulled out her father's hidden bag, laid the objects on the table along with the photo. The same gloves and glove writing. The same mask with red ribbon around the eyes and mouth. The problem was that her father had never put on that mask, and she'd never worn the gloves, and the woman had never taken their photo. And then she understood. 8. The woman's last day was tomorrow, the end of the weekend market, and the day of the comet. 9. She went to bed early. Her mother came and checked on her. Her father kissed her blonde hair. Her older sister had her own room, but the younger shared this room. When her sister went to bed, her parents came again and left. She didn't say anything. She stayed up, under the blanket, listening to her sister's weird sleep breath. Kids always breathed with their mouth open, like they had eternal colds. With the pen light, she examined the photo. She felt dread, but there was nothing she could do. She couldn't tell her parents. They'd be sad, or worse, scared. She couldn't tell her sisters because they'd tell her parents. She got up, went to the windowsill, which held her unicorns, and added the new ones. She tried to play with them for a little while, but their bodies and horns cast gigantic shadows on the wall from her pen light. For the first time, she was afraid of them. She backed away and climbed into bed. 10. She woke early. Even her mother was still asleep, but it was light out. She had to decide what to do. She picked up the photo first to see if anything had changed. It hadn't. There they stood, hand in hand, at the market, staring at the camera while the giant comet came down. Probably so fast the sound had not even had time to reach their ears. She took the pillowcase off her pillow and carefully placed all her unicorns in it. She had 13 now. She'd collected them over the last 4 years. The first was a gift from her grandmother. She quietly left her room, walked through the silent house, opened the sliding door, and stood on the back porch. The sky was cloudy today. There were no signs of the comet. The air was still, the grass wet. She kissed them all one by one, then lined up her unicorns on the wood banister. The pink one shot through with color like a marble. The full black one that looked like it was made of volcanic rock. the blue and green and yellow ones, the white one with a rainbow-colored horn, the unicorn with wings. She positioned them in just the way they needed to be, the way only a child's mind can find order. Then went into the yard for some time before returning and laying the collected things on the table. 11. They were rocks. She tested their weight in her hand and then hurled them one by one at the unicorns. They exploded. They burst like the glass they were made of, held inner tension, and the rocks released it. A few made a popping sound, but all of them shattered. The noise brought her mother, then father. They found her standing there on the porch, in the light rain that started minutes ago, her pajamas hanging heavy and wet, crying. They sat her down inside, with 2 towels wrapped around her. Her mother kneeled in front of her, and her father sat on the coffee table. What was wrong? But she loved those unicorns. Was she mad, sad, angry? Did she hit her head harder than they thought last night? She just cried, head lowered, until the tears ran empty. Then she stopped crying but continued to sniffle and gulp. Then those ran out too. Then they all 3 just sat there, looking at each other, no one knowing what to say or not say. 12. Her mother ran a warm bath. Her father swept up the shards. Her sisters came down later and stared at her strangely. They all ate breakfast. She looked at them. They were so well lit. They had so much color. Even her mother's brown eyes looked beautiful in the light. Their voices sounded like churning water. They fed themselves, they laughed and fidgeted. They were beautiful in a way she was not old enough to name. She knew it, that she was too young to know what she felt, and that made her sad too, that she couldn't hurry and grow up in the next few minutes and see them all as she'd see them if she was an adult. Childhood was kind of unfair, she thought, to make children so helpless for so long, then make them aware of it. The more she looked, the more she understood. Everything is beautiful and everything would be all right. 13. She found her father in the garage, sharpening lawnmower blades with a black stone. You have to keep them very sharp, he said, to cut the lawn. Otherwise the blade would just beat the grass to death. He laughed. She didn't. She looked at him seriously. Dad, we have to go back, she said, to the flea market. He didn't understand. They only ever went on Saturdays. Sundays were for hanging around the house, for chores, a few beers, or in summer, cookouts. We just went, he said. Did you need to go back to get something? We can find it again next weekend, kiddo. She was insistent, though. She did not beg or cry. She just looked him eye to eye and told him they had to go back today. He had a quiet conversation with her mother in the house. They came out looking worried. Her mother put her hands on both sides of her face, searching for fever. But why, her mother said. They both repeated this, like talking parrots, relating the same thing. Drawn faces, squinting eyes, as if they were searching for something inside her. Eventually her father relented. With 4 girls in the house, he said, he'd probably have to get used to this. Then mussed up her hair as she got in the truck. She made him bring the bag of things he'd bought yesterday. He frowned, but tossed the bag on the front seat. On the way, he tried to make light conversation, then asked what was wrong again. Her eyes filled, her lips trembled. One fat tear ran down her cheek on the opposite side of her nose from him. She licked it away. He didn't notice. He didn't turn on the radio either, and he did not sing. She looked up at his profile, his light blue eye like a marble, then closed her eyes, thought about her sisters and mother, and gave a quiet thanks, even if she didn't know it. 14. They parked and then walked back through the market. There was no pointing or browsing this time. Her father followed her as she led. They wound through the maze for a few minutes. She glanced repeatedly up at the sky. The rain burnt off with the morning, and the sky just showing blue. Then she saw the woman, her 3 tables, all the collectibles heaped on top of each other. When they got there, the woman looked up. She didn't look surprised. Her father, to her left, didn't know what to say. The girl pulled the gloves out of the cloth bag, put one loosely on her left hand, then handed the bag to her father. She put on the other glove and held them up, facing the woman. "Put the mask on, Dad," she said. "The lady is going to take our picture."